right, guys, in our final math lesson of the year, we are bringing together shapes, fractions, and area. All right, so this one's a bit of a doozy. So try to follow along. This one says that you need pattern blocks, colored pencils, and a ruler. I don't think we have pattern blocks in class. I happen to have this handy dandy trace. Oh my gosh. A shape tracer, and so I've got all the different shapes here. So it asked us to trace or draw a hexagon, and I had one. If you don't have one in class, don't worry about it. Just follow along with mine. No big deal. So you can use what you know about combining and separating plane shapes to explore the relationship between fractions and area. Okay, so we're going to trace a hexagon with a pattern block. Well, if you don't have them, here's one. Divide your hexagon into two parts with equal area. Because I wanted to use a nice straight line, I already divided it for you, but I did it in a different color, okay? So now I have two different shapes, right? One shape this way, one shape this way, but they're exactly the same. So write the names of the new shape. So the new shape looks like this. Okay, so it's got opposite sides that are parallel, but they are different lengths, and only one side, only one set of parallel lines, right? These guys are not parallel. So my new shape is a trapezoid. Trapezoid. Okay. No. Yeah, it's a trapezoid. Yeah. So write the fraction that names each part of the whole you divided. So my hexagon was one whole, and then I divided it, and so each half is worth one half, right? So each part is one half of the whole shape's area. So write the fraction that names the whole area. So if I'm talking about my whole hexagon, it is 2 halves, which make one whole, right? So explain how you know the two shapes have the same area. Well, I can cover the area with something like my finger, and it looks to be exactly the same. Or, to be honest, I could also fold it in half along my line, and then I should end up with the exact same shape on either side, right? And I do. Okay. So those are some of the options as well. What would happen if you divide the hexagon into 3 shapes with equal area? What fraction names the area of each part of the divided hexagon, and what fraction names the whole part? Well, each part would probably be shaped like a rhombus, and it would be worth, if I'm dividing it into 3, remember, I'm dividing it into 3 parts, and each part would be worth 1, okay? And then the fraction that names the whole would be 3 out of 3 parts, right? Because when top and bottom are equal, that's when that's one whole, right? So show how you can divide the hexagon into 4 shapes with equal area. So I actually just already did that, as you can see. But each of these shapes, 1, 2, 3, 4, are all going to have equal area because I divided it evenly. So each part is what fraction of the whole shape's area? Well, I've divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So 4 is going to be my denominator. Each one part is going to be worth 1, right? Because this is 1/4, this is 1/4, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4. So each part is 1/4 of the whole shape's area. Okay? So we are going to move on to an interesting shape here. So the rectangle at the right is divided into 4 parts. So the green part, the blue part, the pink part, and the yellow part. Okay, but they all have equal area. So if you look really closely and you wanted to count the units in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they are all divided into, there are 4 different shapes, but they all have an equal area. So write the unit fraction that names each part of the whole. Well, remember, it's been divided into 4 parts, so that's my denominator, and each part is worth 1, so 1/4. What is the area of each part? Now remember, I already just counted that out, and I know that it is 5 units. How many 1/4 parts does it take to make a whole? Well, here's 1/4, here's 1/4, here's 1/4, here's 1/4. So it takes us 4 of them to get to a whole. Is the shape of each 1/4 parts the same? Is the shape the same? No. The area is the same, but the shape is not. Is the area of the 1/4 parts the same? Explain how you know. Yes, I counted the unit squares, and there are 5 unit squares in each 1/4 part. So each 1/4 part is the same, okay? They're divided up equally. They're just not divided into the exact same shape. So draw lines to divide the rectangle below into 6 parts with equal area. Well, I think my first job is going to be figure out the area of this shape, right? So 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 times 8, all right? So each, and I'm divided into 6 parts, okay? Right. So how could I do that? All right, so my area is 24, right? Area is 24, and I'm dividing it into 6 parts. So 6 parts going into 24, that means each part needs to have an area of 24 divided by 6. It's going to be 4. All right, so let's just start this off here. So I need to do 6 parts with equal area. So 4 units is going to be my area. So this is going to be 1 shape. There's 1 of 4. And then 1, 2... Here's another shape of 4. Remember, they didn't say it needed to be the same shape, right? They just need to have equal area. So I've got 1 shape here, 1, 2, 3, and then I can do 4, and then I can do another square here, 5, 6, okay? So I've got 1 shape of 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, okay? And the shapes may be different, but each of them has an area of 4 units. So write the fraction that names each part of the divided whole. Well, I divided it into 6 parts, and each one is worth 1. Write the area for each part. Well, I know that the area for each of them is 4 square units. Okay, and then each part is how much of the whole shape's area? 1/6, right? 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. If I added them all together, they would make 6/6, which equals my 1 whole. Okay, explain how you know all the areas of the parts are equal. Well, I counted them out, right? There's 4 in each of them. And that's how I actually drew them, or how I decided how I would draw them at least. Okay. All right, so in the share and show, divide the trapezoid, this shape here, into 3 parts with equal area. Write the names of the new shapes, then write the fraction that names the area of each part of the whole. All right, well, how could I possibly divide this? So I'm going to do it in 3 parts. So dividing it like this is not going to be equal. dividing like this, I'm not going to get equal. But oh, what if, and you guys use a ruler, I can't. What if, oh, my lines aren't going to be perfect, but imagine that they are. What if I divide it like that? Now I've got 3 parts. It doesn't look entirely equal, but imagine that it is. You use a ruler and do it equally. So I've divided the trapezoid into 3 parts with equal area, okay? That means that all 3 are the same size. So write the names of the new shapes. Well, these are 3 triangles. I made 3 triangles. Yay me. Okay, so that's step 1. Then write the fraction that names the area of each part of the whole. Well, I divided it into 3 parts, and each one is worth 1. So 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I add them all together, and they equal 3/3, or 1 whole. Okay? All right, so in this one, we're going to draw more lines. I'm not going to do all of these for you. I'd like to get you to practice a couple of these on your own. The Sharon Show is actually really long in this one. So, yeah, actually, I'm going to do one more of these and then send you on your own so that you have some practice to do as well. So, draw lines to divide the shape into equal parts that show the fraction given, okay? So remember when we read the fraction, we look, oh, this tells me 6 equal parts, 2 equal parts, and 8 equal parts, okay? So divide this into 6, divide this into 2 equal parts, and divide this one into 8 equal parts, all right? Again, you have to use a ruler. I'm gonna do this one with you, so you're gonna do the hexagon and the rectangle on your own. How can I divide these into equal parts? Okay, and remember the easiest way is to make fold lines, lines of symmetry, to figure out if it's equal. So I'm actually going to, this one is the easiest way for me. Now I've got 2 perfectly similar triangles, and if I were to fold my page over, it's not gonna work. If I were to fold it over, I would see that I have 2 identical triangles, okay? And now these are each 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, add them together, and it would be 2 halves, which is 1 whole, okay? So you do the hexagon and the rectangle, please. And I'll give you one example of this one. So draw lines to divide the shape into parts with equal area. Write the area of each part as a unit fraction. Okay, so this, these are pretty straightforward, I think. So draw lines to divide the shape into equal parts. All right. Well, I need to divide this square into 8 equal parts. I need to figure out the area first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 4, so my area is 16. If I'm going to do 8 equal parts, then it's going to be 2 squares per unit, right? Or 2 unit squares per part. So here's 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts, 6 parts, 7 parts, 8 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they all have an area of 2 unit squares. But I need to write the area of each part as a unit fraction, okay? So each one of these, I divided it into 8 parts, and each one is worth 1/8 part, okay? So do this one and this one and this. Do the rest of these on your own, okay? You guys can practice this a little bit. You're tired of listening to me. All right, and then finish off the last page on your own. And guys, you are done, right? If you still have time and want to get started on your chapter review test, fabulous. All right, have a good one. Speak soon.